Yo, and welcome to the EPM show, all things enterprise performance management. I am Blake Bozarth, and I'm actually not even in this episode today. Chad Pike took this one-on-one with Timmy Thomas, who's a certified solutions architect on his way to Master Anaplanner, and I think it's an amazing episode. I'm just on the intro. If you remember, we do this show because we want to try to give you an unfair career advantage. We want to try to give you a leg up in your career. And I think Timmy brings the insights today. So he's going to talk about what was it like transitioning from a traditional FP&A role into a Anaplan focused EPM specialized role. It freaked him out a little bit initially, but he's so glad he was open-minded. You're going to hear about that transition. And also he's going to talk about what's it like being on the customer side of the house. And if you remember last episode, we talked to Travis San Pedro, had a great episode with him, and he mentioned what are the things he loves about being on the partner side of the house. Well, today we're an equal opportunity interviewer. So you can work for a partner consulting on an implementation side, and you could work for the customer in-house. And there's pros and cons to each. It's about what you value and what you're looking for. And then finally, he gives some great nuggets for how you can advance your career. And he talks about networking in particular. We know that's a common thing that we should be doing. He talks about how specifically he's done it and the impact that it's had for him and why he's passionate about it for others. I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. There's some good nuggets in here. Without further ado, let's jump to the show.
A fun question, and then we'll do your career in 60 seconds, and then we'll get into the meat of the whole thing. Who are you at the wedding party? Are you dancer, DJ, drinks are on me, man? Give it to me.
Well, I'd like to say I'm in the dancer vein. I think my wife would probably disagree with that, but I have actually been an unofficial sort of wedding DJ twice in my life. So two friends have used me as their wedding DJ. Very much like, here's a playlist, you handle the sequencing and everything. I wasn't like up mixing the turntables or whatever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So then real quick on the fly, if you were going to make the set list, top 3 songs that got to be in every single good set list for a DJ. What's your professional opinion?
Oh my God. Well, I'd say Let's Groove by Earth, Wind and Fire is it's like the perfect song to kick off a wedding. Like everybody's kind of wound up from the ceremony, and that hits like kind of the older folks, but also like the young folks still know it. So you got to have some Earth, Wind and Fire in there. Probably got to hit some Beyonce, do some Megan Thee Stallion with her with the Savage remix, because the kids will love that. And then, man, I'm super into like old school rap and stuff, so I like want to go there, but probably not the most like universal thing to do. So, but in that vein, I'll say maybe some Jay-Z, like, I don't know, like anything Jay-Z, like you could even do Umbrella with Rihanna, just get all the stars in there. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish we had our co-host Blake Bozarth on the call today. I know you saw the email he sent us, but he's in Florida. So Hurricane Ian coming into town, they kind of had to make sure everything was all right. But he's a wedding guy through and through. So I know he would have loved to hear that. He'd have been eating that up, man. And he'll get a kick out of it when he hears this. So anyway, let's get down to it. So you're senior financial analyst at Groupon. Kind of give me your career in 60 seconds. Give it to me just from life school, whatever, to where you are today. So all you.
Okay. I'm Timmy. I graduated from University of Oregon in 2017. I still live in Oregon in Eugene, which is where U of O is located. Got a degree in finance. After school, was looking for a job within FP&A. Eugene's a pretty small market, so it took a couple years to get there, but got onboarded onto a local forestry company here in town that's multi-billion in revenue per year, and was fortunate enough to work within Anaplan as a FP&A analyst from the start. Started around COVID, so Anaplan was a really easy thing to do online by myself. So got pretty advanced pretty quickly in Anaplan. Soon enough, about a year and a half after starting that, became a model builder full-time at that company, working within their supply chain planning. And then just about 4 months ago, got an opportunity to become a senior financial analyst working on the COE of Anaplan at Groupon. So I've been here a few months and just loving working with Anaplan and looking to continue that as I keep going in my career.
That's awesome, man. Right on the money too on the timing, by the way. So
awesome.
Love it. We're winning today. That's great. So started out kind of in FP&A, jumped into model building through that and started loving it, keep going deeper and deeper to building your expertise. What's the goal? Is it Master Anaplanner? What are your kind of thoughts?
Yeah, 100% Master Anaplanner is the near term goal. So I did level 1 and 2 in like a matter of like 3 months, starting with Anaplan. Although it was really, I was spending a lot of time on it and I was learning, but you really don't learn as much until you're actually working within a company, working within their models. So after about a year at my former company, I started working on the level 3 model building, and I finished that in late 2021 and passed the test for solution architect. So I have that. So at this point, all I have to do for master is take the test, which I've been studying for a few months now. So my plan is to probably take it like early 2023. I just want to make sure I'm fully prepared before taking it because it does cost money and I don't want to squander my first opportunity there. So that's the near term goal, is Master Anaplanner.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome, man. And good luck with you. Good luck to you on that test. You mentioned something in kind of your career overview. You said that you can learn it, but you don't really start to understand it and grasp it and get it until you're working in Anaplan within a company. So kind of in that vein, what do you feel like has had the biggest impact on your EPM career success, specifically on the customer side?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really been, I guess, having an open mind and trying to accomplish things in your own way within the system. So that's why I kind of mentioned level 1 and 2 model building. They help you out and they let you learn the system, but you don't really it takes having a issue and a question that you're trying to solve and just trying to think through it yourself. And then from there, you're going to be creative and figure out how you might approach it. And for the first 2 years, you're probably going to do the least efficient way possible. But then it's those learnings that kind of help in the future be like, the next time you approach it, you think, how could I have done this better last time, basically. So for me, it's been keeping that open mind and being open to new opportunities, because I was in the traditional FP&A role, and then the Anaplan model builder role opened up, and I almost didn't take it. I loved working in Anaplan, but I was a little bit nervous to make that my job title, because I was like, was this going to keep me from going down a traditional FP&A route? But I'm very happy I did and just really enjoy working within it.
That's awesome. It's interesting you mentioned that, having started on the traditional FP&A side. I feel like when I talk to people who started working in Anaplan at a customer and have kind of built a career at a customer, that seems like a common entry point for folks. So what would you say were maybe some of the biggest challenges as you made that transition, or biggest learning curves that you had to overcome, and why you feel like it's been a good one for you in your career?
Yeah, I think a big thing with, at least for me, FP&A is pretty structured. You generally have, at least from my experience, you have your quarterly forecasting cycle, your annual planning cycle, and then a monthly probably close process that you're following. So that's kind of one of the biggest differences. And honestly, one of the biggest things I found I liked about model building is you can have projects with deadlines and that sort of stuff, but you're not restricted by this, by this date, this has to happen, by this date, the forecast has to be finalized, all that sort of stuff. And so that was an adjustment, not having those boundaries, because obviously, as I'm saying it now, it sounds like a good thing, but I think a lot of FP&A and accounting folks really enjoy that structure. You kind of know what to expect all the time, whereas with Anaplan and model building, it can be a little more unpredictable. You can't really necessarily see where the challenges are going to be before they happen. A lot of times projects sound really easy up front, and then you realize pretty quickly it's going to take a lot more work. So I think that was one of the biggest changes, and it's kind of a pro and a con. For me, it's been better than it's been worse. Just I like that flexibility in my day. So I would say that's probably what I would say for biggest change.
Yeah, no, that's so good. I feel like there's a couple of things I'm picking up on there. One, I mean, you talk about kind of the flexibility in your day. You're not quite as beholden to the quarterly and annual reporting cycles that you would be in a traditional FP&A role. But even then, I feel like the theme that's coming out right now is transitioning into an Anaplan role, because you're going to encounter issues, obstacles, things like that, and you kind of have to problem solve your way around them. It sounds like there's been a lot more opportunity for you to maybe exercise some creativity and grow in problem solving skills and just kind of savvy resourcefulness of, hey, we've got an obstacle here, but we want to create a more connected organization from a planning perspective. So how do we do that? Is that fair? Do you feel like that's been a part of what you like about it?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that was attractive to me about taking that first model builder role is that it was outside of the traditional FP&A side because it was within our supply chain planning.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like, I didn't even think of Anaplan as something that could handle anything other than financials and financial planning at first, because obviously that's what it was built for. But then you start trying to solve other problems and you're like, wow, this tool can really accomplish a lot of different things. And from there, you maybe look out on Anaplan community and see all these different use cases that you never even thought of. And now I'm working within incentive compensation management, which is a whole nother ball game. And it's just pretty cool to see like what all you can do. And for me, I like really exploring different areas, and it feels like it makes me a more well-rounded, like, I guess, model builder, just to have those different experiences. Mm-hmm. So that's been really fun for me, honestly, is just the flexibility of the tool, making you a more flexible person at work.
Could you maybe share some examples of your time being on the customer side of where you've been able to maybe get exposed to different organizations or areas within the company and gain some knowledge around the business because you're helping to apply Anaplan creatively to that area?
Yeah, for sure. And this is where I really like being part of a customer. And just because I've only been at my current role for a few months, I think it probably makes more sense to talk about my previous role, which was coming from FP&A. So I provided a bit of a bridge where I had this common language with the finance team. So I went over to the Anaplan side, and my supervisor was technically within the IT organization. And the model we were working on, since it was supply chain, was working with a lot of sales and operations people. So it was kind of like I would find these common links where my former boss on the FP&A side knew the sales manager, and then I was able to bridge that gap with IT through that connection and really just kind of learn more about the business in general. When you're working within a customer, it really is important to know the entire business. So you're constantly going to learn new things, whether it be from a finance perspective, a sales perspective, IT, and you really need to have a holistic view of how things are working, both from systems as well as just the business itself, which is something I really like, just because the more you learn about the business, the more you can progress through that business. And if you're only working within one department, that's limited a little bit. You're kind of a bit limited by what you can do in the future. But if you start meeting people in all these different departments, then people start to know your name. People will maybe have an eye on you for promotions, even outside of your existing team. So I think that's super valuable.
That's awesome. Yeah. I would love to hear, because I mean, it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is one of the key opportunities and advantages of being on the customer side is the ability to see the organization more holistically, because you're working across IT, finance, supply chain. I mean, I know it can be applied to you. You talked about working on incentive compensation models. That's kind of quasi HR sales. So you can kind of touch so much of it. When you're going into a new organization as a business partner from an Anaplan perspective, like, how do you go about building that relationship, building credibility, and kind of taking advantage of that network like you talked about?
Yeah, that is maybe the toughest part. And when I started this role about 4 months ago, it was a bit of a challenge, because this incentive compensation management model, we actually did have a partner working with us initially to build it out and get it to like an MVP state. And my role was to come in and take that over, and then from there kind of push out new enhancements, any fixes needed, and just kind of take it to the next level.
Right.
And so it was a little tough, because one of my first big projects is bringing our international team into the model, because currently it's just set up for North America. And my first meeting with those international salespeople, they're super nice, but they were very hesitant, but I understood where they were coming from. So for me, it's weird to say, but it's almost customer service to an extent, and you just have to not waste people's time and try to make sure you're on the same page about the final goal and
Yeah.
clear communication. So you don't want like weeks to go on or months to go on with them not hearing any updates from you. So I set up those recurring weekly meetings, even if it's just 15 minutes, just to say like, hey, here's what I've done. If I have any questions, I'll ask them at this point. That way we're not wasting anybody's time, and they can kind of see the progress that we're going through. Because working with a partner, there's always kind of a weird feeling around time itself because you're being billed. So you don't want to set up an hour and then not use it to its fullest potential. Whereas with me, I'm happy to give as much of my time as possible to understand what's going on and just be as efficient as possible.
I love it. I feel like what I'm hearing there is going in with kind of a servant leadership type of mindset, or how can I serve you? How do I serve this organization? And even being able to be aware and acknowledge the fact, hey, we might have tried this in the past and it didn't work, but I'm here to serve, and here's how it can be different because of that. Even just acknowledging you don't know the ins and outs of the business unit that you're about to walk into, but saying I'm here to serve and be a great partner, and having that clear alignment. What's the end goal? How do we drive to that? And that clear communication is critical. And I love that. One, it helps you in the short run generate results, but then two, can help you in the long run by building a vast network across the organization, which can only serve to advance your career. So, hey, one quick question as we wrap up. For someone considering the customer path, what advice would you have for them trying to jump into that, or any next steps you would want to offer somebody?
This is definitely something that I feel like is super overlooked, especially within this space. It's just honestly networking. And it sounds maybe kind of obvious, or someone might be like, why would I need to do that? But it's been helpful for me, like just building up a network, even on LinkedIn, with other Anaplan model builders or Anaplan managers or Anaplan employees. And so if you start building those connections, then there's going to be opportunities that arise, and if people see that you're that well connected, then they're probably going to want to talk to you. And even if you're not super, I guess, experienced with the tool itself yet, I would just reach out to people and try to talk to them, because you can learn a lot from other people's paths. And for me, it was pretty fortunate to start at a place where they had Anaplan as a tool, and it all kind of worked out for me. But I think you can be just as successful doing some of the trainings yourself, and then trying to just make those connections, because then you never know when a role is going to pop up with someone who you have a connection with, and maybe they think of you first because you've reached out. So that's been really helpful. And also being active on Anaplan community kind of goes hand in hand with that, because I've met some really great people through there within Anaplan.
No, I love it. Build relationships, engage in the Anaplan community on LinkedIn and on their site, and just build relationships for the long haul. I love that. That's great advice, a great reminder. Timmy, thanks so much, man. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and ask you questions about how you got to where you are in your career, or pick your brain? Where can they find you?
Definitely LinkedIn. Like I was saying, I'm pretty active on there, and checking if people message or send connection requests. Always happy to chat about pretty much any and all things Anaplan. I mean, it's kind of my professional life, so always I'm a bit biased towards it, but happy to help anybody that is interested in the tool.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Love it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Wherever you're consuming this, if it's YouTube, if it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed. We have a lot more amazing guests on the way, a lot more great content. We're doing our best to bring you value and have fun while we do it. We really want this to be a career advantage, listening to this show, and we want you to enjoy it. So it means a lot. Make sure you're subscribed for what's to come. And also, if you're up for it, it would mean a lot if you leave us a like, a comment, a rating, a review, whatever platform you're on. That really helps, and it gets us fired up when we see those. So I appreciate you guys. Find us on LinkedIn. I'm Blake Bozarth, my co-host Chad Pike with a Y. Would love to connect with you there. Have an awesome day. See you next time. Peace.